Good morning, brother. How's
Tanya, where's your support crew?
My support crew? Did they look that supportive yesterday?
I noticed yesterday you had somebody with a pointer. It looked like a Tyrannosaurus Rex or something waving around the red one.
Velociraptor, actually. But yes, I was, that was a fun one. No, I'm at my parents' house today because right when we're done this meeting, I need to cut and wrap some beef quarters. So saving the drive, we got here early so I could be here and then go straight to downstairs.
You know, if you bring your device and we continue to broadcast, we might have more viewers who are interested in that. So
Learn how to
yeah. It'd be that most viewed of all the videos we have. Some practical.
from 0 to 1.
Okay. Okay, I'm just gonna open the participants here, make sure we have everyone. One, two, three, 4, 5, 6, 7. We need 7, is that it? I think 8. We have 8. All right, we're good. Okay, well, let's get to it and hopefully more people will come in. Oh, there's Penny. Okay, we're definitely ready to go now. Okay, well, welcome everyone to a committee of the whole meeting dated February 10th. And today we'll be talking about grants and aid. But first, we'd like to recognize that our business is being conducted today, principally on the territories of the Hoopadgesit and the Tahltan First Nations, as that's where our main office is. However, since this is a hybrid meeting where we have individuals coming to you from home as well, it's also true that we are coming to you from new channels, potentially Coast Salish territories as well. With that in mind, I would note that because this is a hybrid meeting, the meeting is being recorded as well as being broadcast live on YouTube, embedded on our website. So you can get to the video broadcast through our website or through our own channel on YouTube. And as far as I can see, I have Director Roberts, as well as our CAO, Daniel Cyan, and our Manager of Administrative Services, Wendy Thompson, in the big room today. And I did see a wave, Wendy, so I think we're in good shape there. Hi, Daniel. I'm not certain if the video is able to zoom in on anyone other than Director Roberts, but since he'll be principally casting votes and whatnot, I think we're in good shape. Hi, Director Roberts. With that in mind, then, we have an agenda in front of us, and I don't believe that there is anything that we need to add to the agenda. So if we could have someone to move the agenda.
Mr. Chair, Director Shannon said she can hear some beeping or feedback from someone, or yeah. So I don't know if someone has their microphone.
Okay, so it might be me. I had my watch go off at 10 a.m., but I silenced it pretty quick. Is it perhaps feedback? Is that what you're hearing?
I think so. I can hear it when you're talking, John. Like,
Yeah?
I don't,
Okay.
yeah.
I can too.
I can live with it.
Actually, I can't. Amazing.
Yeah. Okay. How about now? If it's a real difficult, I can switch to a different webcam. Is that, or a different microphone? Is that better?
I don't know. If I'm the only one hearing it, don't worry about it. But
Okay, I'll switch back then. Okay. Apologies. I didn't see that. There was beeping because there's a vehicle outside beeping because I think we're getting our garbage pickup happening right now. So it might have been that. I don't know. Don't know what you heard, but let me know if it continues to happen. Okay, but we do have an agenda. I'm wondering if we have someone who can move the agenda and a seconder.
So moved.
Thank you, Director Roberts, seconded by Director Cole. Any comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? All right, motion carried. Thank you. All right, we don't have anything except for one item on the agenda technically, but it has multiple parts. It is the request for decision in regards to the 2022 grant and aid applications. So I'm thinking, Director McNabb, please go ahead.
So just kind of a point of interest or clarification. Is it possible for us to kind of bank some of these ones that are possibly not going to happen, like events that are asking for funding? Can we, rather than allocate them directly to that organization, can we create a bank that we can draw from should the event take place?
Okay. Yes, like if for event ones, if you're talking like the carving on the edge and like those types of things, if that's what you're talking about, we can create, and we have in the past had like a special events budget. And so we can determine if we want that to be like $5,000, say, and then we would bring back, as they know their event's going to run, we'd bring it back to the board and say, would you like to support this using the special events fund? We definitely can do that if that would, or the other option would be to award them the grant and state that it's dependent on the event running. And then when they prove to staff that their event is going to go ahead, we could release the funding. And if they don't, then it would just become surplus for next year, would be the other option for that.
Director Roberts.
Yeah, I like the first option that you've mentioned. I think having a special events fund would be more appropriate, and any event that something does kick off, then we've got the money there, and we can, as you mentioned, we can bring it back to the board and discuss it further. Thank you.
With that in mind, Director Cote, please go ahead, and then I have a question for Director McNabb if you wanted to do that off the top or
Thank you.
as we go. Please go ahead, Director Cote.
Thank you. Just want to identify that we have used the special events funds in the past for other things that have come up through the year. So I would hate to be dependent on that to actually cover what's being asked here today. I'd rather deny it or have it in the budget as what it's being identified for, so that that money is reserved, because we have had multiple inquiries over the years for those special events funds, and I think we've actually used them up in the past for different events. Thanks.
Okay. Director McNabb, and then Director Shannon. Oh.
Sorry, something's happening here today with the video part of it, but nevertheless, I mean, my question and sort of comment there is once we allocate these and they're paid out, I mean, some of these organizations actually are banking these, rather than having it go directly to an event that we want to support and want to create economic activity. It ends up not going there because the event doesn't take place. So I really think we need to decide whether or not we're going to do it through special events funding or through actually using subject to the event taking place.
Okay. Next up, I have Director Shannon, then Director Cote.
Thank you. I was going to make the comment that last year, I believe we put the restriction, call it, on it that they get the money if the event takes place for the drag racers. So I personally feel more comfortable that route, because then we're dealing with it today. The money's there, it's categorized, ready to go. Because as Director McNabb mentioned, there's a few things here that if it's hard to, as an event organizer, say, yes, I want to do this, but I can't have my money, and maybe have to get like have to apply again to try and get the money from a special event thing, where if we say, hey, the money's there if you hold your event, and then depending on COVID restrictions, they're like, yeah, we can do it, so the money's there for us to grab, or hey, we couldn't do it because of restrictions, and it just rolls over to next year. That would be my preference.
Thank you, Director Shannon. That's exactly what I was gonna say. So you've said it for us. Thank you.
Okay, so with that then, I guess my question would be if we could just be prepared for maybe creating a different category where that exists. It may be only one or two things, but when we go through the list, we'll be able to add events or specific line items from this agenda to that kind of category, I think would probably be the best way to do it. And then we can handle it all in one motion at the end, which I think is the plan anyway. Dr. Bodnar, please go ahead.
Thank you. I was just going to echo what Penny and Director Shannon had to say. That sounds like that's the best route to go.
Okay. Okay. And so with that, I think that we can probably dive in and go through each of these in order. Director Cote, please go ahead.
Thank you. Having them all in one block, we can still pick out if we're not going to give the amount that's being requested a lesser or more event amount. So I'm just fearful that we're putting it all in a block and just approving it as is. So just want to keep that in mind.
Yeah, the category will give you money if you hold your event. Basically, whatever that will come out as, it won't have to all be released as one big block. It'll be piecemeal over time. Okay. So with that, let's get to the first one. Okay, I'm wondering if, Terry, are you the one who takes us through this, or is it someone else?
I think the grant needs for the most part are probably going to be fairly self-explanatory, at least until we get to like the new ones. We've ordered them for you in order of their alphabetical by ones that you've supported in the past are what we've listed first.
Okay.
And then any of the new requests that we haven't supported before, we just listed those separately. Just thought it'd be easier for you guys to get through the ones that you are more familiar with first. The only ones that I want to note are number 2, which is the Community and Women's Services Society. I missed on the agenda that Director Beckett, you also supported this grant in 2021. So Area A should be added to that one. And Director Shannon, number 14, the Victim Witness one, Victim Services Society. Beaufort participated in that last year as well. But I think everything else, they've laid them out pretty clearly for us, Chair Jack. So I think we're just good to go.
Okay. Dr. Corbio, go ahead.
Thank you, Chair. Being new to this, is there any budget at all for the total of monies given up?
So this is, this is really just one by one, and each of the directors or areas decide if they're going to participate in it. So on the agenda, we have listed out if we've awarded in the past, and if it says all munis or CPA in it, then City of Port Alberni participates in that grant historically, and you would pay your share based on land and improvement apportionment. We don't have a formal, well, we have a policy which we attach, but there isn't like one formal bucket of money because it depends on who the participants are for each grant. Like some of them might be West Coast only, some of them might be Alberni Valley only, some of them are region wide. So it's not like a one bucket scenario that we have. It's honestly like a one by one. Is it something that your area is interested in supporting? And if you guys are unsure or want to learn more, we definitely have time to bring some of these back as delegations if you want to meet with them, or I can just request further information and bring it back as a report. I can't think of anything else to add. Hope that answers your question, Director Corbio.
Yeah, thank you.
Thank you for that, Director McNabb.
So Ron, on page 6 of the agenda, it shows that what each area spent last year. And so that's kind of a good benchmark for going up or going down as far as your support.
And I will track as we go through, and I can do a share screen at some point to show each area where you're at in comparison to last year, if we're wanting to do that.
Okay. Okay, so with that then, let's just go through item by item then. We have GIA 01, which is the Alberta Air Quality Council. It's probably best if we just all follow along on page 3 and 4 and just go through them in that way. So they're requesting $12,000 this year, and it's been $10,000 the year previous, but 12 the year before that in 2020. Director Cote, go ahead. And then Director Bodnar.
Thank you. The Air Quality Council does a great job for us. And I think they've increased what they are doing there. And I'd like to recommend that we approve the requested amount of $12,000. Thank you.
I'd second that motion.
Okay, well, I'll just let that stand if that's okay, Director Cote. And then next up is Director Bodnar and then Director Beckett. Go ahead, Director Bodnar.
Thank you. Because I am on the Air Quality Council, I really would like to support them. As Penny says, Port Alberni is in the red zone as far as particulates go in the province. And we really want to be more aggressive with the advertising and getting the word out more and finding more ways to be able to reach people to understand how important this this item is. So I really support what they do. Thank you.
Thank you, Director Bodnar. Director Beckett, please go ahead.
Thank you. I recognize and value the work that they're doing. I'm concerned about Banfield making any commitment over and above the $15,000 and change that they spend annually. And when I take a look at all of the categories, most applications include or most applications are more than what they were looking for last year. So I guess through the chair to Terry, hearing that I'm going to be reluctant to increase Banfield's contributions this year, I'm going to be very selective. So using this one as an example, Terry, if Banfield said, we like the work they're doing, but it's mostly in the valley, we don't want to contribute any more this year, how does that work for Banfield and how does that work for the rest of the participants?
Sure. So for the $12,000 grant, Banfield's share is, hold on, just let me double check my spreadsheet is working. Yeah, my Banfield share is $457. So what would happen is if Area A does not want to be in, that $457 would just be spread apart among the other participants. So definitely that is this I should say crazy grant process that we have here is that, yeah, you can opt in and out and I can just remove you from the spreadsheet. And in your case, the impact is $457 that would be spread out amongst the other areas. So fairly minimal.
So I know this would be a lot more work for you, but I see that we participated last year. And if I wanted to keep it at the same amount, you'd be able to manage that as well?
No, so we have to apportion by land and improvements based on grant needs. So,
yeah, I mean, it depends on how you interpret that question, I think. So, I mean, if that's the way you want to go, then I would suggest to the group that everyone just give 10,000 instead of 12. It would just be probably a better way to do it.
Mm-hmm.
That being said, I do have Directors Cote and Bodnar next, so we'll do that.
Thank you. So looking at this application, Which of the following areas benefit from this service? It says entire regional district. So prior years were specified eliminating the West Coast or First Nations. So this year it says entire regional district. So, and there was one application in here too that I saw that had just ticked off the city of Port Alberni. And when they're asking for that, I'm not interested in contributing. When the staff change it to include me, I guess we could voluntarily participate, but I think that when applications come in, there needs to be a quick review as to actually what they're at, who they're asking and what they're asking for. So looking at this application, on their application, it says entire regional district.
May I
Thank
respond?
you.
Sorry, so historically, they've asked for the entire regional district, but the West Coast have never contributed to this grant and aid. So I'm listing who has decided to participate in the past. Area A had been participating in this in the past, but so that's why they're listed, but it's up to the board to decide based on the application what it is. The one that said city only, if they're only applying to the city, they actually need to apply directly to the city. So I think their intent, even though they don't check the boxes, was to apply everywhere. And to be honest, I just don't have time to go over these with the applicants and take a look at them before. So they're literally going straight from the mailbox into your guys' agenda because we just don't have time for the outreach to all 25 of them because I would say 75% of them arrive on the very last day because they're also busy. So that's also part of the problem. I know that the grant need process as a whole is something that is on our to-do list to look at. And maybe at that point we push this a lot earlier, say in the fall to do, because it doesn't necessarily need to be done right in January. And then we would be able to have maybe a more robust program of reviewing. But at this point, it's just, yeah. The ones that are listed that we've done before are based on who's participated in the past, and the new ones I kind of just review, and if I think that they've got their service area wrong, then I just indicate who I think might be interested from the board based on what's in their application.
Follow up. So while we're going through this, then can we identify, just as we go through it, that the request was to the entire regional district and who wants to participate? And these are the participants from the past, just to make that clearer. Thank you.
Okay, I have Directors Bodnar, McNabb, and then Corbeil.
Thank you. Through the chair to Director Beckett, I certainly can see that you get more information regarding Bamfield and how Air Quality Council is affecting your area. So I will take that on.
Okay, Director McNabb.
So then we have the big philosophical discussion with regards to, yes, it doesn't directly affect my area, but it is benefit to the whole. And we've talked about that at length in past. So it kind of has to be part of the thinking process. Sometimes it takes us all to move things forward. Thanks.
Thank you for that. Director Corbeil, go ahead.
Thank you. Several years ago, I sat on the Air Quality Council, and one thing that they did that was a little bit more regional in scope was working with the Vancouver Island University. They were doing testing and the methane gases out at the landfill. So I think that kind of brings in more of the whole region when you start talking about the landfill and the amount of methane gases that were being given off.
Thank you for that. Next up, I have Directors Cote and then Beckett.
No, I'm done. Thank you.
Thanks, Director Beckett.
Thank you. I'm sorry, guys. I'm struggling with this, not because I don't support the Alberni Air Quality Council. I am concerned about increasing Bamfield's contributions more than the 15,000 and change that I've already spoken about. This is the first item, and we're looking for an increase. And I don't know how to respond. I'm a team player. You know, I look at the next one, Alberni Community Women's Services Society. We contribute to that. I hugely support that initiative. How do I ensure that I'm not spending more money that our community doesn't have? So I would be happy to continue to contribute the same amount that we contributed last year. But I recognize that that is an accounting nightmare. So please help me, guys. I don't know what to say.
I think, and I'll say this again, the answer is just to revert back to what the total is, and then that makes it easier for everyone. Because a lot of these, as Dr. McNabb has pointed out, have some sort of regional value to them, and therefore you can have a discussion about just keeping it down for everyone, because you're still continuing on with a contribution. This is the awkwardness of this entire process. This goes back to even before I was chair, to a point where Director and Chair Osborne really hated this whole process and thinks that it should be done away with. So there are other ways to deal with grants and aid, but we just haven't gone about finding a way to do that yet. So this is the messy way to do it for now. But I would say the easiest way is just to go, they want 12,000 this year, they're getting 10. And then the math kind of works out, and you end up paying what you did before, if that's what matters to you. Other things notwithstanding. Okay, Dr. Shannon, you're up next.
Thank you. Essentially, John, you just reiterated what I was going to suggest. If it's easier, I would say, then just offer the 10,000 that was done last year, because I mean, we know that the Air Quality Council helps with the regional wood stove exchange program and all that things. And I mean, because we're all going to be in the same boat with how we're balancing this. So if that makes it easier, then I would suggest we go down to the 10 as we did in 2021.
Okay, so I think the way to do that then is we do have a motion that has been moved by Drs. Cote and Corbeil. If they're willing to allow that to be changed to the original amount, or if they want to keep it at 12, then we can do an amending motion. Dr. Corbeil, go ahead.
If I could just make a point, we're going to come to some groups that weren't funded at all last year. So we're just going to prolong this discussion. As soon as we get to a group that got zero money last year and they're asking for $2,500 this year, we're going to have this discussion all over again.
Yep, welcome to grants and aid. Dr. Cote, go ahead.
Thank you. I'd like to point out that in 2020, they received $12,000. So it was actually a reduction last year. But I would modify my, amend my motion to make it 10,000 if that's what would make this move forward.
Okay, thank you. Dr. Corbeil, are you willing to second that amending motion?
I'll second that.
All right, thank you. So all in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Now we're back up to the original motion that has been amended to 10,000. Okay, are there any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Okay, that's motion carried. Thank you. All right, next item is Alberni Community Women's Services Society. This is ACAWS. They're asking for 5,000 even, and they were awarded 4,389 last year. And I think that's because Hotchuklassit decided to join in, but I'm not certain how that all lines up. Because it's an odd number, and I assume that's what happened.
That was their request last year. Their request was just an odd number. It was for a specific project, and that was just what they had decided to request.
Okay, no, that's perfect then. Are there any other comments or questions or motions? Dr. Cote, go ahead.
Thank you. Last year, I believe it was Hotchuklassit participated.
Yeah.
And at this time, are we asking First Nations if they are interested in participating?
So Huet contributes independently through our budgeting process usually every year. So we just like pretend we're a municipality at that point. So we won't participate here because we give more than what our share would be here. Terry, go ahead.
Director Coots has me send the list after you guys have done your discussion today. I'll send the list to him and he goes over with his council which ones. And again, they do kind of contribute the same way that HFN does, as kind of like a grant from a municipality, but we run it through here. So their amounts will reduce the overall total if they decide to participate this year.
Okay. Thank you. I think I have Director Minions and then Director Cole. Yeah.
Thank you. I'm just noting that that City of Port Alberni is a participant, but we contribute to ACAUS through our community grant program that we have as well, which name is slipping my mind right now for some reason. And so I'm wondering if we're really double contributing as well. And while we have this conversation, I'm just going to quickly look at our most recent list of that to see how much we're contributing through the city.
No, that's good to know. So usually I let the directors do this process first, and then I send the list out to the City of Port Alberni, Tofino, and Ucluelet, and make sure that we don't have double dipping. I know that I think we talked about it last year, and they were like two completely separate projects. And so in that case, we bring it back, but it doesn't determine to be double dipping, I guess. So we'll have that same conversation again, but that's great to know. Thank you, Shari.
Dr. Cole, go ahead.
No, I was just going to say that I remember last year there was a whole thing about no double dipping and that it would all work its way out in the end.
Okay. All right. All I had in my notes from way back then was that how checklist had joined. Dr. Cote, go ahead.
Thank you. Because last year was for a specific item, I think that's why the city was included in that, because it wasn't just a regular funding thing. It was a specific project. Thanks.
Thanks, Dr. McNabb, and then Dr. Shannon.
So this year is for a specific project as well. It's for redesign and development of our website.
Thank you, Dr. Shannon.
Thank you. I guess my question is to West Coast directors on this one, because the applicant had noted on page 19 that that they mentioned that it's not uncommon for clients to travel here from the West Coast. They're mentioning Tofino, Ucluelet, Long Beach, and House It. And prior to that, that their programs and services are offered to families across the region. I guess just the invite, if they saw that and if there's interest to join in, if the Alberni Community Women's Services Society is, I don't know if they've always gone that far out of the valley and more to the region, or if this is kind of new this year that they've kind of been expanding. I don't know the society that well. I don't know if anybody else can jump in on that.
Dr. Cole?
I did look ahead at that, and because we have the West Coast Women's Resource Society in Ucluelet, I feel like we tick our box for sure, and if there are people utilizing the Alberni resources, it's probably for their convenience, not necessarily because we're not offering it.
Further comments? Dr. Cote, go ahead.
Thank you. Helen Frood is on the as one of the table of partners on the Health Network, and describes the work that they do, and there's a lot of people that do come to the valley to escape circumstances, so it really does cover all areas. And I realize that this conversation has happened in the past about the West Coast, Tofino and Ucluelet, that offer programming there, but sometimes it doesn't meet the needs of some of these people. Thanks. It's not a huge amount. Thank you.
Thanks. Dr. Shannon, and then Dr. Cole and McNabb. No? Okay.
So then I think it's my turn. I appreciate that, Penny. I do also think that they do fabulous work. I would say though that we also have a lot of influx of people escaping to the West Coast. So I think it's kind of a two-way street in that case. We have our transition houses are quite often how, with the intake from the valley and such. So I agree it's not a lot of money. And if the other West Coast communities are interested, then I am always happy to spend other people's money. No, I'm just kidding.
Now, please go ahead.
So why don't I try a trial balloon here? I would move that we fund the amount of $4,000 to Alberni Community and Women's Services Society for the purpose of redeveloping a website.
Thank you. We have a seconder? Director Cote, thank you. Any comments? Director Cote, please go ahead.
Thank you. And who would be
Harry.
participating?
Yeah, I just thought that if you don't mind, I'll just give a lowdown of who will participate for each one so that we're nice and clear. So based on historically who participated, it'd be CPA, Bamfield, Beaufort, Sprout Lake, Beaver Creek, and Cherry Creek. And I'll also forward it to you, Chuck Lissett, after this meeting, but not part of the resolution.
Thank you. I think Director Cote was next.
Just what about the West Coast? Because just wondering if they want to participate. Thanks. A website would be universally used, I'm sure. Thanks.
Director Cole?
Director Steer isn't on here anywhere, is he?
No.
Okay, well, I will step up. I believe everybody cruises the internet, so you can include Clueless.
Okay. Okay, adding someone is generally easier than taking away, from what I understand, because it makes everyone else's share go down. So we can give Director Steer the option in the future as well. Okay, with that in mind, then, are there any other comments? So I did see that, Wendy, you had your hand up. Was there anything you needed to? Go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I was just, clarifying who the participants are as we go through each of these, if we can clarify the participants.
Okay.
As part of the motion, thank you.
Okay, I think that covers us off reasonably well. Are there any further comments? Okay, seeing none. All those in favor? Okay, motion carried. Thank you. All right, third is the Alberni District Fall Fair. This looks like it's an in-kind contribution. Director McNabb, go ahead.
So I would move that we allocate $1,000 in kind to the Alberni District Fall Fair, subject to the event taking place.
Thank you. Director Cote? Yeah.
Second.
Thank you. Further comments? Director Bodner?
Yes, I noticed that they already had $1,000 there. That did they use that this last year?
Go ahead.
Yes, they did. The event did run, and they this grant is actually them coming in and printing and laminating a whole bunch of signs. So a former ACRD employee comes in and utilizes our equipment and prints and laminates and prints and laminates and prints and laminates. So yes, they did use it last year, but not the year before that.
Okay, thank you very much.
Mr. Chair, and can we also confirm that it's the same participants as last year, all municipalities and electoral areas?
Last chance to opt out. Yeah, we can confirm that. Okay, with that in mind, all those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Okay, next up is the Alberni Valley Chamber of Commerce. This is for prior year participants have been A, D, E, and F, which I think makes sense. Because I think the municipality CPA already does that on their own. Okay, Director McNabb, go ahead.
So I move that that we allocate as we did last year for the Alberni Valley Chamber of Commerce A, D, E, and F.
So,
Second.
okay, thank you, Director Cote. So as we did last year means 1,000 each, is that correct?
That's correct.
All right, good. All right, with that in mind, any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. All right, that brings us to item 5, the Alberni Valley Community Foundation, which is something that was new, but we did award in 2020. So I assume that it's going back to when there was a contribution made. So they're asking for 5,000. There was nothing awarded last year. Was anything asked last year? I can't remember. No? Okay, thank you. Director Cote, please go ahead.
Thank you. This is for the vital signs that we receive. It's very valuable information. It only comes out every 2 years, so that would be why there was a gap. For our granting, looking at studies, a lot of the information like housing, statistics is very well supported by the vital signs. I would like to contribute, but I'm not sure if $5,000 is what other areas would like to contribute. The West Coast also has a vital signs. It's in that in-between year. So we offset each other.
Dr. McNabb?
So I'd move that we contribute $2,000 to this project.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Thank you, Director Minions. Yes, okay. Okay, with that, are there any comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. All right, that brings us to the Alberni Valley Drag Race Association, Straight 5 and Alberni folks. Go ahead, Terry.
Just that Banfield did contribute last year. Director Beckett, I just wanted to, Alberni Valley and Banfield historically have contributed.
I should stop doing that. I just think of members of the committee. So that's not correct. It's ABB. Director Corbeil and then Director McNabb.
Thank you, Chair Jack. This could be another example of where the city has donated through the community investment program. I'm not 100% sure, but it does ring a bell with me.
Thank you, Director. We'll have you after Director Roberts, Director Minions, Director McNabb, and then Director Roberts.
Sorry, was that Director Minions?
No, it's McNabb and then.
McNabb,
but I kind of like to go Director Minions first. I'd like to hear about whether or not that's the case.
Okay.
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Thank you. Thanks for that, Director Corbeil. I don't believe have contributed through the community investment program, but I believe there will be an ask for this year coming to council in the very near future. And the event, if it is held, is going to be held on city streets and takes a really significant amount of staff time to help set up. So there's a large in-kind contribution that comes from the city, as well as potentially other requirements. So I think we definitely, especially without seeing, and maybe I'm missing it, but any more specifics of what this is from, I think it would be double dipping.
Thank you. Director McNabb?
So, Terry, how does that, what do we do with that?
We can just remove the city. It's probably going to be cleanest just to remove the city of Port Alberni contribution to this grant. And we'll just do, if the other areas are interested, we can do it from those other areas, excluding the city, and then they can deal directly with the Drag Racing Association. So you may want to reduce the amount to reflect that, or however you would like to proceed.
Okay.
Well, on a budget basis, that's kind of how it has to go. I mean, I think if we take the city out of the picture and then look at $3,000, that's probably the best way to attack that. So I would move that.
Okay,
So
we have a
areas A, B, D, and E, and F.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder?
Second.
Thank you, Director Cote. Dr. Roberts, you had a comment?
I think that was answered, but as yet, through the chair to Director Minions, there has been no application at this point.
Go ahead, Director Minions.
We're in an ongoing conversation with the Drag Race Association, trying to find a way to make the event work for this year. I'm sure they'll come and make a public update soon, but they are looking at, I think Stamp Avenue is probably what we're looking at again this year, trying to make that work. So we are working with them. Every year, I mean, when the event has been on Stamp Avenue, the city, I mean, the first year contributed $80,000, like in cash, I believe, to or not in cash, but in funds to accommodate the race. So our contributions are pretty significant every time that the event does happen, and we know that there's some updates that need to be made to accommodate it. So we're in an ongoing conversation. We've also encouraged them, though, to apply to our community investment program, which is similar to this grant and aid process. So we'll likely be making, an actual small cash contribution there that I think will balance out what's being reduced here and just keep it a little cleaner.
Thank you. I have Director Beckett and then Director McNabb and then Director Roberts.
Thank you, Chair. I'm sorry, I didn't hear the motion from Director McNabb with respect to the dollar figure.
So it was $3,000, and I forgot to add subject to the event taking place.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
I was going to inquire at the end, but yeah. Okay, so that brings us to, back to you, Director McNabb, if you had any further comment, and then Director Roberts.
Just answered my question. Thank you.
Great.
No, that was my comment. Is I forgot to add the.
Oh, okay. Okay, so that. We'll just assume that, just pretend that was added on, because I think that was obviously the intent all the way through. Dr. Shannon, go ahead.
Thank you. I'm just wondering if, because the city has withdrawn for valid reasons, if when we let the applicants know what they received, do they get a little summary of the conversation as to how we came up with our numbers? Just curious, because I mean, it might help Shari for when they come back, like this is what happened at the regional district because this is what's happening at the city with your application, how the process works.
I can make a note to add something. We don't normally, and sometimes they'll phone for feedback as to why a number got changed, and we'll verbally tell them, but I can make a note in this letter that we understand they're going directly to the city to discuss. So we've removed them from this application. Yeah, perfect.
Okay, so with that then, I think we're okay to go forward. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Great. All right, next up is the Alberni Valley Rescue Squad. So before they had asked for, looks like 6 and 6 or 6 and 6 and a bit. Now they're asking for it to be combined plus a little bit, it looks like. Is that correct? You're muted.
I hit it, but it didn't hit it properly. So what's historically happened with the board is that we provide $6,000 to the Alberni Valley Rescue Squad and the West Coast equivalent, which is a West Coast Inland Search and Rescue. We provide 6 and 6 as a region-wide grants. And then the rescue squad started asking for additional funds above the 6,000. So what we've done the last couple of years is provided that additional amount, but through the Alberni Valley and Bamfield areas only. And so there's one kind of the 6,000 comes from region wide, and then whatever extra in this case is a little bit more than they asked for last year would come from the Alberni Valley areas. Sorry, yes, Alberni Valley and Bamfield area.
Okay, so that structure would remain in place, or is this, yeah?
It's an option, yeah, yes.
Could
I
remain
think that's
in
the
place.
cleanest way
Okay.
we've got through this discussion to date. So yes, I would say it's probably a good way to go again.
I think that's why I'm fixating on it. I have Director Bodner up.
I noticed too that they also get funding from gaming, a gaming grant. And so it's not like this is their only source of income. Just a comment.
Thank you. Director Cole, go ahead.
Oh, in these, in the ugly way of these conversations, I'm not quite sure how to approach this other than because we have the West Coast Inland Search and Rescue, and in here, in their application here, they actually say that they provide mutual aid. So again, mutual aid is a two-way street. And we already support the West Coast inland later on and on the West Coast. So I'm just wondering if this is actually something that the West Coast should be included in. And I know it has been in the past. And I know I thought about it the last time and I tried to sort out, and I'm not even, I end up paying twice as much for everything I buy on vacation because I'm not a very good bartering person. So I'm not very good talking about money, but I think that there might be something here that in my mind might not necessarily be the perfect West Coast contribution because of the other things that we do.
Thank you. That brings us to Directors Cote and then Shannon. I'm wondering if I've missed anyone. Sorry, Director Roberts, you can go on after Director Shannon. Director Cote, please go ahead.
Thank you. I would like to make a motion that we do the $6,000 for each of the three search and rescues. There's a new one, an air one. So we'll
Air
have to
search?
discuss that later. But we do have, historically, we have given each of the three $6,000. So I'd like to make that motion now, and then we can discuss the additional requests as they come up. But I would like to support all three once again with the base 6,000 with us all contributing.
Second that.
Okay, so can we just make it about this particular one and then do the other ones in order when we get to them, just to make it clean? There, just keep track of that. Yeah, if that's okay, Director Cote. So we just say
That's how you want to do it, but that would be my request at each one of these. Thank you.
I think that
Okay, I'll make it for this one, 6,000. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Okay, and then it's seconded.
I'll second.
Thanks. Okay, and then with that, then are there any further comments? So this is just for the base amount. We're going to have an immediate conversation after about the rest, I guess. Director Shannon, go ahead.
Thank you. I may have understood Director Cole wrong, but I just wanted to reiterate, when we do number 7 here for the Alberni Valley Rescue Squad, we're all paying 6,000. Then when we go to number 16 for Westland Inland, we're all paying the 6,000 again. If that helps. Or if I totally didn't understand where you're coming from, then ignore my comment.
Yeah, no, I think I do understand. And if it was all equal amounts and everybody was all in for all of them, then it would make sense, because if they are solely primarily working their spots and then affording mutual aid, then it all makes sense. And I'm fine with that.
Okay. Director Roberts, please go ahead.
Yeah, through the chair, thank you. I don't know if everybody's aware of this or not. Once a rescue is initiated and a task number is assigned, then they can call mutual aid from each and all areas, maybe perhaps even on the Comox side. Mm-hmm. But the issue from my perspective is that, as has been previously mentioned, is that we identify each rescue squad, search and rescue individually, as opposed to doing a lump sum. Thank you.
Yes. Okay. Further comments? Terry, go ahead.
Just wondering, Director Johnson, if you have determined with TOQUAT what your proposed contributions. I know you guys adopt a little bit later, I think in March, but you historically have contributed $100 or $200 to this grant, and just wondering if you know that now, and if so, we'll plunk it in, but if not, we can have that discussion later.
Yeah, excuse me. We were going to do both the rescues, but now that I see that there's a third one, we'll probably add that one as well.
Okay, thank you for that. I think Kuwait may do something similar. I think we only did one last year. We may want to look at all three. Are there further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Okay, that brings us to number 8. This is the top of page 4. Dr. McNabb, go ahead.
So I would move that we grant the amount of $6,000 to the Valley Rescue Squad for equipment purchase. And that be City of Port Alberni and A, B, C, and D, E. I think that's where we are.
I think it's usually A, B, D, E, F.
Yeah,
Okay.
just
Not C.
not C, because C is Long
Okay.
Beach.
Okay.
Yeah.
Second,
All right, thank you, Dr. Cote.
And just to kind of speak to that, over the last few years, I mean, if you were ever in this discussion with Mike Kakura, he was like the ballistic on the fact that the provincial government wasn't contributing towards search and rescue, and just really thought that it was a provincial resource that needed to be funded provincially. And EMBC is funding search and rescue units now on a task basis and in other ways. So they do have better resources. Naturally, everything is costing more, and their AMA program is broader than it used to be. And so I mean, my daughter's one of the foot soldiers, and they ended up at Nanaimo Lake searching for a body, a couple of weeks ago. So that's how broad this service actually is. But I mean, we just our limits are there, and taxation this year is going to be a significant issue. So that's why I would like to keep it in that that $6,000 bracket. Thank you.
Thank you for that, Dr. McNabb. Are there any further comments? Dr. Shannon, go ahead.
Thank you. In addition to, now I've lost my page, hold on. If we're looking at this 97 to 101. So they were looking for the additional money, operating costs of 6,000, and then the other money came up for 2 Mustang rescue dry suits and 2 headsets. I mean, I was going to propose that we pick either the 4,200 number or the 3,452 instead of 6,000. I mean, because now we've got this third one in that we've got a new $6,000 that we're going to be paying for to help with costs, just as an alternative for thought.
I think the way to do that would be to have an amending motion. Dr. McNabb, what are your thoughts?
No, I just kind of like to keep it clean and neat and use the 6,000 towards equipment purchase. And, the problem is, next year it'll be the Scott packs that are $7,000. So, it's just a matter of taxation level, that's all.
Okay. Is that all right with everyone? You can still do an amending motion if you want. Okay, no? Okay. With that then, all those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Okay, so I think I'm going to have to ask Janice to kick Director Minions out into the lobby of the meeting.
Virtual lobby.
Yes,
Thank you.
so she could
wanted
just come right back in 5 seconds. After we're done.
Perfect.
Yeah.
Just wanted to recuse myself from the Bread of Life conversation due to my husband's employment. Thank you.
Wendy, is Janice on today?
Oh, sorry. I don't know who's actually running it. Sorry, Wendy.
And I think I've done it correctly.
You did. She's gone. So it seems to have worked.
Whether we can get her back, we'll see.
You should probably have a tab above on the participants list that'll say like waiting area or something like that. Okay. Okay, next up is the Bread of Life Center Society. They had asked for 5,000 previously. They asked for nothing last year, and it looks like they're requesting 10,000 this year. Director Cote, go ahead.
Thank you. I understand that the Bread of Life Center is a very valuable service that is provided in the city of Port Alberni. I have a question about, they only receive funding from BC Housing, and I'm wondering why they're not applying to like the real estate board. They have granting. There's other granting opportunities that could be made available for them. And at this time, I'd like to make a motion that we give them $5,000. Thanks.
Thank you. Director McNabb?
That's second.
Okay, thank you. Any further comments? Director Shannon?
Thank you. Just on I might be getting nitpicky here, but in their application, they said they have not applied to the regional district before for grant money. But we know that they've gotten 5,000 in 2020. Have they historically prior to 2020 asked the regional district? I don't know if we can go back farther, Terry, if that's quick to grab or not.
Yeah, just give me a second. I don't think in recent years, just need to unhide Bread of Life. So
Penny.
2018, they had $5,000 as well. It seems periodic.
Director Cote?
I'm good.
All right. You just remembered. Jenny, go ahead.
I apologize. I should have connected with Terry about this earlier. But one of the rationales for the Bread of Life application has to do with waste management. And I actually was wondering, and I can't remember if we've done this in the past, but normally the money comes out of the grant and aid allocation. But for this one in particular, is there the ability to do a grant and aid that comes out of the solid waste account? So this is because part of the issue is about this illegal dumping issue they're having. And so instead of waiving tipping fees, instead the idea is we should fix the problem. And so I had encouraged the Bread of Life when they had come to me and talked to me about this to say, you know, you should really do this as a grant and aid because that's the process, because I can't pay for a private company to deal with this. So I'm sorry, Terry, I really should have touched base with you about this before, but I was wondering, can we allocate the money from the solid waste account for the gate?
Maybe we just defer this one and we can bring it back at a later time, because I actually don't think, Jenny, that's really how their grant needs actually reading. So I don't know if they're wanting to look for something else besides that. So if we could just defer this one and we'll bring it back to our next budget discussion, that might be the cleanest.
Okay, Director McNabb?
Motion to defer.
All right, thank you. And seconded by Director Shannon. Director Cote, that's okay? Yeah, okay, thank you. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Yeah. Okay, let's get Director Minions back in. Hopefully.
Take her off hold, but I'm not sure why she's not. Okay, she's rejoining.
There we go. Okay, with that brings us to the Carving on the Edge Society. Looks like it was all municipalities and EAs, and they're asking for 5,000. Did not ask for any money last year, but they asked for 2,500 before. That sounds like it's just kind of making it even across 3 years, but yeah, please go ahead, anyone. Dr. McNabb, go ahead.
So I would move that we allocate the amount of 2,500 as we had in the past. I'm not quite sure logistics even from reading this to go from 25 to 5. So that would be my motion.
Thank you. I think that's why I speculated that you want to make it even across all 3 years. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director Cole. Any particular or any other comments?
Just
Go ahead.
think we should add that I'm assuming you want it to be dependent on their event being held.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, we just need to add that line at the bottom of when I say that.
Nope, that's fair. Okay, Director Shannon, go ahead.
Thank you. I just have a question on the participants. Is this the same kind of situation where First Nations participants are maybe funding this outside of this grant and aid again? Because this is just question because of the festival that it is, and that it's really with the artists of the 10 First Nations. And yeah, thanks.
Yeah, I don't think that Hawaii's ever contributed to this at all. I think we've had contestants, but I think we would just help them with travel and setup and stuff. So I don't know if Hawaii's done anything. And I definitely don't know about other nations. Kristen, do you know if Tokwat contributes? I know there have been entrants, but I don't know if.
I don't think Tokwat has. I know CBT has, and we are on the CBT, but I don't know how that affects payment.
I think that's just through that organization at that point. Okay, I think that makes it pretty straightforward. Are there any other comments? So this is for the, I believe, 2,500, all munis and EAs. Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Next up is the Central West Coast Forest Society. Looks like a lot of them skipped last year and they're just going back to what they had asked for the year previous. This looks like it is purely a West Coast ask. And we have Tofino, Ucluelet, C, Area C, and Tokwat. Go ahead, Director Cole.
I'll just comment that they do state and then they do come to the individual districts of Ucluelet and Tofino and are supported. But I'm happy that they're supported here, and we'll just make sure that if it's the same funds that they're looking for, that it's not double dipped down the road like we did last year.
Thanks, Director Roberts.
Yeah, thanks for that, Director Cole. Yeah, I appreciate that. I think everybody heard yesterday how the Tokwat or the Thornton Creek Hatchery works hand in hand with these people, and they do a tremendous amount of environmental impact studies and rehabilitation of the creeks and rivers in the area. So I totally support this $3,500. Thank you.
Great. Dr. Cole?
I'll make one more comment, and that especially with all of the backroads activities we've had of the last couple of years, anybody working out there has definitely had to step up the game and is doing far beyond the call of duty. But I am happy to move that we go with 3,500 for the Central West Coast Forest Society for the Tofino, Ucluelet, C, and Tokwat.
Okay, and seconded by Director Johnson. Okay, any further comments? Okay, seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Alrighty, that brings us to the Cherry Creek Community Recreation Commission. Diane?
Yes, thank you. Yes, I'm speaking for the volunteer people that Cherry Creek, they work their butts off around there trying to fix this and that for small things. It's a 50-year-old building and it contributes a lot to the community. There's many activities when COVID isn't around to service the whole valley. And right now, their only source of income is the renting of the field out at the back. And those people who use that also use the washrooms in the building. So they're really struggling this year, and the bathrooms, the toilets and everything need to be replaced. They did get the floor done, so that was a major thing to deal with. Now it's the bathrooms, and that's not something that the volunteers can do. This has to be done by somebody who knows what they're doing. So they are asking for $20,000, and I would really like to recommend that.
Okay. Since this is just you, if you just wouldn't mind moving it, we'll get someone else to second. Dr. McNabb? Yeah.
I'll second.
Yeah. Okay. Okay. With that, then, I think we still all need to vote, however. So all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you.
Thank you.
That brings us to Port Alberni Association for Community Living. Oh boy. Just want to look into the detail on that. Oh no, what page is it?
176.
Thank you. Flooring. It's for flooring. Okay, sorry, I was just reading. Who is up first? Dr. McNabb and then Dr. Cote.
So my thoughts on this one is there any opportunity for the provincial or federal restart programs, COVID restart programs, to be helping with this sort of an application? I don't know, Terry probably, or Wendy.
The ACRD has fully allocated our COVID restart funding. We don't have any more available. We do have a new grant coordinator, and I could get her to take a look and see. There's nothing coming to mind that we've seen come across recently, but could continue to help assist these organizations, I guess, if we know what they're looking for.
I mean, this particular organization, we at our business deal with these folks and provide sort of temporary employment on an occasional basis. So I mean, they really do an ongoing awesome job, but I think this is kind of out of our wheelhouse, quite frankly. I mean, I love what they do, but it's just that we're not geared for this. So, you know, I would think that we personally, my thinking is that we need to be in, you know, in the $3,000 range as a support, but I don't see us taking on the whole bullet. So I'll leave that up to discussion. Thank you.
Okay, I have Dr. Cote and then Director Means.
I'm good.
Dr. Means.
Thank you. I was just going to echo Director McNabb's comments. I think this is a great organization. Nobody would debate that. I think that the amount is just outside of the realm of really what is reasonable and common for this specific program. And I also don't know that, in my mind, flooring really fits. I think that if we give a general amount, and 3,000 would be certainly in line with what we are giving to similar organizations. I think that we are supporting the organization, and if part of that ends up going to flooring, fantastic. If they're able to, get other commitments from other places, but I don't think that this is a reasonable amount. So I would be supportive of an amount around $3,000 and the city participating in that, but not of the request made.
Is there a seconder?
Dr. Jack, your volume is very low. Dr. Jack, Chair Jack, yes.
Okay. I'll move to a different thing here. How about now?
That's better.
Yeah, okay. Dr. Cote, you have a comment?
I do. So this application is the one that all they've ticked is the city of Port Alberni.
Terry?
Just can we, yeah, just confirm who would like to participate in this if we're doing it on the 3,000?
Dr. McNabb? Oh, you're just putting your hand up that you would? Okay. Okay, so we have Dr. Shannon, Dr. McNabb, Dr. Cote, Dr. Bob, as well as the city, because it's their motion. Dr. Shannon, you have a comment?
Yeah, I was just gonna say I would support the motion for 3,000 with the participants from last year if everybody else was into it. And that's exactly what you just listed in.
Okay. Further comments? Do we want to ask our grant coordinator to look into this and see if they can help?
So part of this year's work plan will be kind of learning more about, well, I'm going to task her with this lovely grant and aid process in general and see if she's got some great ideas that we can move forward. But I do think we're going to start figuring out at least a mailing list where we can reach out to these associations such as the community halls and these, so that when grant opportunities come in that we think are could be potentials for places like Cherry Creek Hall, as well as these guys, the Port Alberni Association for Community Living, then we'd be just forwarding those on as a way, and then she could also be a support for them for learning the ins and outs. So that is kind of part of her scope. I don't think I need anything specific at this time, though.
Thank you. With that then, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Where are we? We are now at the Port Alberni Marine Rescue Society. So it looks as though reasonably equal to what was asked for before, with the, looks like the Valley plus Ho-Chunk-Licet. Excuse me, my dog wants back in. Any comments? Dr. McNabb?
So I would move the $6,000 sort of unilateral motion funding. And then we'll go back to the other part for whatever.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Cote. I had Dr. Shannon with a comment now.
Yeah, sorry, my question is so there was the 6,000 obviously we did last year plus another 55 it looks like, but I just have a question, and maybe this might be Director Beckett, because in the application it says they're serving Port Alberni and they've included Bamfield because of their work down the Alberni Inlet. And maybe there's something different in Bamfield. I don't know. I'm just trying to get my ducks in a row here and looking at applications versus who's participating. I mean, on the 6,000, we can talk about the extra after two things. Not to throw any wrenches in your system.
Were there any other comments? Dr. Beckett, then Dr. Corbeil.
Thank you. I wasn't sure. I'm assuming that the question from Director Shannon was related to whether or not I feel Bamfield should contribute. We haven't in the past. We certainly have, you know, a fairly significant Coast Guard base there. I do recognize that we have residents that boat, you know, up the inlet. So just to again, going back, Tanya, are you asking, and do you feel we should contribute?
I guess my question, Bob, sorry, Chair, to follow up with that is, if A, yes, if you would like to participate, and B, also because I'm not completely familiar how much activity you might see down your end or how far it goes down the inlet, if you have any insight on that.
Go ahead.
You know, certainly there are a lot of tourists and visitors that put in at Port Alberni and head down the inlet. So, you know, based on that, I do feel some obligation to participate in this.
Director Shannon.
Thank you. And I
Sorry,
just
Rob.
want to talk about that. We're talking about that base 6,000 right now, as Director McNabb had talked about, versus additional that we're looking at. Thank you.
Let's go to Director Corbio and then to Terry.
Thank you. Well, my question was kind of along the same lines, like why is the entire regional district not receiving a benefit from this service? People that are lost at sea, there are no boundaries. People could come from anywhere within the regional district and outside the regional district. To an earlier comment that Director McNabb made, this is probably another service that should be funded more provincially.
Agreed. Dr. Cole, go ahead.
I just wanted to make a comment into any of the patients that we've picked up from any water services from rescues on the West Coast come in from Coast Guard or our search and rescue crew or parks. We've never seen them out here as far as bringing in rescued patients to us. That doesn't mean that it's not happening out here on the West Coast, but I can attest to that.
Thanks. Terry, thoughts?
I just wanted to clarify that like this wasn't funded region wide last year. There wasn't like a portion that was funded region wide and then an extra portion from the Alberni Valley. The whole 11.5 last year was funded solely from the Alberni Valley. So it's a little bit different than that rescue squad one. So I'm not sure if we need to do it in two separate pieces if you're intending on funding more than the 6, unless we're trying to get the coast to participate, I guess would be. Wendy and I are looking for clarification.
Thanks, Director McNabb.
Okay, so I thought that that was the way that this one was handled. So sorry. So I'll remove my motion and start again. That's okay.
Okay.
I had a seconder there somewhere. So I would move that we fund the Marine Port Alberni Marine Rescue Society with 6 and 5, $11,000 for area CPA, area E if he wants to go in there, and B, D, E, F. And how do you kill it on there? Probably because we
checklist it.
Oh, you check. Oh, sorry.
No worries.
I thought it was abbreviation for you kill it. So,
Bob?
Yeah, Chair, through to Terry, what would the Banfield contribution be of the proportion of 11.5?
$419.
Okay, thank you. Banfield will support this.
We do need a seconder, however. Director Roberts?
Yeah, through the chair again to Terry, what are we including area C in this?
At this time, no.
Yeah, fair enough. I think we're covered by Coast Guard on the West Coast, both out of Tofino and Ucluelet area. Thank you.
Thanks. Director Cote?
Thank you. I would really like to see everybody supporting this. Even though you're saying it's not part of your area, I think that it's a vital service that is valuable to all of us. And having the 3 search and rescues covered, I think is important. to all of us. And it's not necessarily that we're going to be serviced by it, but we need to support the services or they're not going to be there. And then unfortunately, they do need the support. And I see that, you know, there's other functions that we have supported in the past over the years just to support those communities. And I think that this is a major one. So I'd really like to see it, the 6,000 coming from all. Thanks.
Okay, Dr. Cole?
I might have been confused when I did agree that I think the 3 should have the 6,000, but I was actually looking at the air, the West Coast, and the mid. So I wasn't including this one as something I agreed that we should all partake in, just because I don't believe those services actually reach out here at all.
Yeah. Okay, so I think this is kind of an opt-in endeavor. So right now it's the ones that have been listed. I believe Hutchcliffe will be in on this because of the where their territory is as well. That can be dealt with later. Dr. Cote?
Thank you. Once again, it's been ticked off the city of Port Alberni and Banfield. So Sprout Lake has not been asked.
I may have been reading the wrong one, sorry. Yeah, I think you're right. Well, D is listed though.
Director Jack.
Sorry, go ahead.
Yeah, I mean, if you refer to the charts instead of to the application, when these people make applications, they don't understand the process that we're dealing with. And, you know, it's quite often that the initial application doesn't really reflect the benefit applied over the board or whatever. I mean, if they were just going to say the city of Port Alberni, then they would apply directly to the city of Port Alberni, not the regional district. So, but it's just the process maybe isn't as clear as it needs to be for application. But the chart is clear, the one that Terry provides us with. So,
thanks, Dr. Cote, and then Dr. Shannon.
Thank you. This is why I brought this up at the beginning, because I did go through these and look at the applications, not what was supplied there. That was what's there is what was previously for prior years on the list that's at the beginning. So this is just strictly asking from Banfield and the city of Port Alberni. So that's why it would come to the regional district. But yeah, it's not very clear then. If the staff start putting in what they think it should be, that's not included in the summary either, because it's from prior years. So thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Dr. Shannon, go ahead.
Thank you. Just 2 comments now. I think part of the process is if somebody's applying and they're not quite sure of the process, us seeing who's participated in previous years, plus seeing what the application has, is part of, we're filtering through it right now as we're having our discussions grant by grant. And then my second comment, my original comment was, I just want to clarify, because we've talked about it so much, we are on $11,000 for this motion, correct? Not 6. And I just wanted to reiterate, and my apologies to Bob, about asking about Banfield because of this, and just the scope of where this goes. Because if this is more the inlet and the valley, and we've got Coast Guards for the West Coast, then I see where Directors Cole and those who are not necessarily benefiting this are coming from, versus where we're looking at the other 3 where we're talking about dividing it. So just my thoughts on that, and back to, I just want to make sure that I'm clear that we're at $11,000, not 6 on this one right now. Thank you.
Yeah, that was the motion. Dr. Cote, go ahead. And then Dr. McNabb.
Thank you. I won't be supporting the 11,000. I would support the 6,000. If it's 11,000, then Sprout Lake is gonna be out. Thank you.
Okay, Director McNabb.
So Beaver Creek is pretty much landlocked except for the Somas River, but I see a lot of trailer hitches on vehicles in Beaver Creek. So I'm supposing that some of those people actually have boats and end up down the canal and might be involved in some kind of marine search. So that's why, I see this as beneficial to Beaver Creek by itself, and that it needs to be supported. And I know that this is actually marine search and rescue. It's the way it's described doesn't make it look like that, but that's what this is. I mean, this is the search and rescue boat that generally sits in the marina. I'm not sure exactly where they've got it now, but it was sitting, at the Consexus Marina. So, it's something that we have supported all along, and it's a community resource. And if it was one of your loved ones that was stuck on a rock down the inlet somewhere, you'd want them to be out there responding to it. So that's my comment. Thank you.
Thanks, Director Bodnar. And then Director Roberts.
Thank you. Director McNabb just took the words out of my mouth. Cherry Creek is far away from the ocean as well, but yes, there's a lot of trailer hitches, and I know a lot of people out there do go down the canal, and I think it's worthwhile supporting. Thank you.
Thanks, Director Roberts.
Yeah, through the chair, it seems to me the 11,500 we gave them last year had something to do with the new boathouse that was constructed at the marina. Am I wrong in that?
I'm not sure. We can defer this one and we can find more details for you, but I don't remember last year's application.
Dr. McNabb, I think that might be a good idea. Would you mind just moving to defer this to the next?
Let's do that.
Yeah. I think there's more information we can glean and we can figure out what's going on, because yeah. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Dr. Shannon. All those in favor? Motion carried. Okay, let's bring this to the next one, which is GIA 14, the Port Alberni Victim Services Society. Looks like it's the same all the way through. Dr. Bodnar, please go ahead.
Thank you. Just to clarify this for me, in their application, they said that the funding this year will be going to support part-time services salary. Is that something that this grant does? Support salaries? Okay.
Yes.
Thank you.
It's the flexibility of the grant and aid system is that we can be okay with that kind of thing. Dr. Shannon, go ahead.
Thank you. I just want to, Terry talked about this at the beginning, but we're at number 14 where Beaufort is not listed here. But yes, Beaufort in the motion, can you include, please? Because we did actually participate last year.
Right. Okay.
Just to note that it's in there.
Okay. I don't think anyone has a problem with opting in. So Dr. McNabb, go ahead.
So I would move that we grant $26,000 to the Port Alberni Victim Service Society, but I'd like to talk about that a bit afterwards.
Second.
Thank you, Dr. Corbeil. Go ahead, Dr. McNabb, and then Dr. Cote.
So this is one that we really, I think, philosophically really needs a new set of wheels. I mean, we're $26,000 a year on this forever. And I mean, they've asked for more in the past and we've settled back at that amount, but it's really more of a provincial program. And the victims can be from basically pretty much anywhere. And I mean, I've been around some of these situations where victim services was responding, and it's I mean, it's really a program that has to exist, but the grant and aid is built to be something that's a short-term solution, not a long-term solution, and this needs a long-term solution. So I don't know how we put that on any kind of planning or forward-thinking kind of platform, but I think it's something that we need to do.
I'm inclined to agree, and I'm inclined to maybe look into the way that the city goes about their grants and aids equivalent. It seems like their policy may be something we can incorporate or look at. I do see someone with their hands up, but I don't see it coming up. Where is this? Oh, that's why. Go ahead, Daniel.
Thank you. Oh, look at that. Our camera is working in here. Hopefully I don't get reverb. There's a number of areas, and I think that would be deserving of a follow-up report in the future, and with which all links to the province. There's a theme here with all search and rescue, air, marine, standard, victim services, health and hospital, the ambulance, where we also see fire call support, and of course housing. There's huge themes that come back in grant and aid and other service areas that would likely be worthy of a unified front going to the province, and just asking them where the line stops being drawn out. And that way maybe we could come forward with a better strategy. But for now, unfortunately, we don't have a strategy to change our grant and aid process, but I think we're deserving or the board is deserving of a follow-up report with all of these provincial themes.
Thank you for that. Apologies, Dr. Cote. I accidentally checked your thing off before you spoke. Please go ahead.
That's okay. This has been brought up at AVICC and UBCM. There's been resolutions. You can see them online, and it continues to be a subject of interest all over BC. Is there a motion? There is a motion already. Okay.
Yes, there is a motion. I believe it's moved by Dr. McNabb, seconded by Dr. Corbeil for the straight amount.
So this is what we historically have given. There's no increase. Service is very much needed, and I support it. Thank you.
Thank you for that. And I think when we search out the thematic kind of approach that we take to a lot of these grants and aid, we would be able to roll this up into one policy to kind of approach this in a more, I don't know, a more organized manner in the future. And that means that we can have staff time to follow up to make sure that they're doing their work. But I think that's pretty straightforward. I do see that Wendy had her hand up, and then Director McNabb. Please go ahead.
Yes, thank you. I just wanted to confirm the participants. I have listed City of Port Alberni in electoral areas A, B, D, E, and F.
Yeah, it looks like you got Beaufort in there now. I think that was the only ad. I think we're good. Dr. McNabb?
Yeah, I mean, it's just this particular item is one that is really, it's a service more than it is a grant and aid. And so, you know, I think we just need to look at it. Thanks.
Yeah, thank you for that. Yeah, if there are no other comments, let's go. So all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Perhaps we can make a note to maybe have a discussion at a future board meeting or maybe a committee of the whole in regards to how we approach this, get it done before maybe June. So let's have a meeting in May about how we approach grants and aid. We're ready for the next year. Thanks. Next item up is the North Island Film Commission, or sorry, Vancouver Island North Film Commission. Asking for a bit more money. Let's just go with 5. Go ahead. I see that you're unmuted. Yeah, oh, you're unmuted. I thought you wanted to speak. Sorry.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I'll move that we grant the Vancouver Island North Film Commission $5,000 for 2022.
Thank you. Is there a seconder?
I'll second that motion.
Okay, thanks, Dr. Corbeil. Any comments? I would note that more filming could occur in our region. I know that there's been quite a bit of growth in Vancouver Island, but yeah, I think there's more we can do to interface there. Okay, Dr. Cote, go ahead.
Sorry, how much was that for?
5,000. No more comments. I think we're all good. So all those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Next up is the West Coast Inland Search and Rescue Society. So I think this should be the straight six that we've been discussing. Dr. Roberts, and then Dr. Cole, and I think I missed someone else, sorry.
Yes, I'd like to make the motion that we support the West Coast Inland Search and Rescue Society for the $6,000, the rest, the same as the rest of the rescue societies. Thank you.
That's seconded by Dr. Cole. Okay, Dr. Cole, did you have a comment? No? Were there any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. So Wendy, I think when that's moved forward without any comments, it's just the folks who are included in the previous, just that would be the motion. But when we do move in the future, let's make sure that we list off who's participating. Thanks. Okay, that brings us to the West Coast Aquatic Management Association, GIA 17.
I'll make the motion. Oh, you're muted.
Thank you, Dr. Johnson. Do we have a second, Dr. Shannon? Okay, well, and lots of folks. Dr. Shannon, you had a comment? Go ahead.
Yeah, thank you. I'm just a question as our discussion with Port Alberni Victim Services Society and a few of these other ones. Would this fall under where we might have a discussion about this one in the future because we're annually contributing to this? Just to note that.
Thank you. That's a very, very good idea. I think we might want to wrap this up into separate categories. So the ones like search and rescue and victim services, that's really about like helping people who need help. And then we have some decidedly environmental and natural resource related ones as well that seem to be important. So we can have that as kind of a separate discussion, maybe on the same day, something like that. Go ahead, Terry.
Sorry, I had stepped out for a moment, but in order to do a grant and aid for greater than 1 year, we have to go to a referendum or an AAP process as per the legislation. So if you're looking to like do a 10-year commitment to somebody, then we have to go to the electorate for some form of approval, which is why it's a 1-year process. But we can more clearly define what the parameters are so that it makes process more simpler. But yeah, anything greater than a year under the legislation needs to have a public approval process.
Yeah, and I think those are on the table as well. We should just have that discussion is what I mean, because I think no one's going to vote against a cause, right? So, I mean, it's we can have those discussions. That being said, we do have a motion here. Are there any comments on the motion itself? This is for West Coast Aquatic. Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Might be a bit selfish, but it would be nice to save the time.
You're muted.
Okay, sorry. So the next one we have up here is the Alberni Makerspace Society. Is this a new one? Please go ahead, Dr. McNabb.
So if I'm not mistaken, these are the folks that have taken over the Third Avenue collection facility that we funded for free, I think.
They're in the upstairs area, I think.
Yeah. So we're supplying the building at no cost. Is that correct?
Yeah, I was hoping Jenny's going to pop on here. Okay, good. Yeah, I'll let Jenny speak to this one.
Yes, that is correct. So we have the upstairs of the Third Avenue Depot that we're not using for anything. And the makerspace has been there for almost 3 years. So they have talked about coming back to the board to make a presentation to discuss what that looks like for next steps, if they'd like to continue obviously from this grant and aid, they're looking to continue. My understanding is that they're looking, they have been doing a lot of work up there and they are asking for some support. So all of the improvements that happen to the building obviously do benefit us in a way because it is our asset. I think they've been a little slow going, but they're also applying for some other grants really to get going. They've had a lot of setbacks due to COVID. Yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing their presentation to the board later this year. And they are looking for some money. And again, this question might come to Terry. I don't know if we could do this as a grant and aid through the solid waste function or not, would be a consideration.
It wouldn't really be a grant and aid at that point. It would be like a service contract for them to provide service on our behalf, but it wouldn't really be a grant and aid through that function.
Yeah, and it is nice to keep the third party hands off, because then they're just dealing with that area that they've leased.
That leads me to believe that they might want to look into becoming a certified kind of service society, or so they could fall under the social procurement kind of idea as well. That may be an idea. I did see that we had multiple hands up, though. I don't know the order, so I'll go with Dr. Corbeil first, and then who else was there? Okay, Dr. Corbeil, please go ahead.
Through the chair, Jenny, is one of the things that these folks do is recycle old computers and the like?
Yes, yes and no. That is, they're not recycling them to create new computers. What they're doing right now, as far as my understanding is they've got a lot of really enthusiastic makers. And so they will take those computers and sort of construct new things with them. And they do a lot of training and engagement with like student groups and youth to engage them in like how electronics work. So they will take apart old computers and play with them and learn how the circuits work, and as well as like small appliances. And so it has a strong tie to reuse in a way. And then they're looking to create new products out of lots of other things, like sort of similar to the small plastic recycling thing. They're really pursuing that as an avenue. Like, how can we take materials that are like rigid plastics that aren't recyclable now, and then you chop them up and create new things with that. And so there's a strong focus on resource recovery, because they can't really afford a whole bunch of new materials. So they try to recycle what they can.
Okay, any further comments? Dr. Cote and then Dr. Shannon?
Thank you. I'm wondering if we might want to defer this as well. I know very little to nothing about what's happening with the makerspace. I wasn't even sure that they were going ahead. Right at this particular moment, I'm really not interested in supporting a small business, even if it's a nonprofit, even if it's in our building. So I'd like to know more. Thanks.
I think that's fair. Dr. Shannon?
Second.
And Dr. Ross.
I'm happy to second that, because my comments were going to be along the same manner. If they're getting, I want to support it, but I feel like we're also supporting it with the tax base of the use of the building in that sense too. And yeah, some more information would be great. Thanks.
Okay, Dr. Roberts?
Yeah, I support that motion as well, but just clarify this for me. Is this our building that we would be putting repairs and so on into it in support of our own facility? Thank you.
And I think that can be included in a report in the future to talk about this, because there may be ways to do some of this through a different way, and that could be acceptable to us, especially since it'd be repairing or adding value. And then the grant and aid itself could be more separate. With that, I think it's been moved and seconded. So I'll say all those in favor. All opposed. Motion carried. So the makerspace might want to move up how quickly they come to speak to us then. Next up is GIA 19, the Art Rave Society. They're asking for $850. Is this related to an event, or is this just a general thing? I can't remember off the top of my head.
I don't think it is, but I just trying to get there.
Sorry, I'm just looking myself.
Chair, can I jump in?
Go ahead.
Yeah, because it says due to COVID and fewer community opportunities that the Art Rave Festival's workshop and video series helped with that. That during the fair determined to offer a range of free events in the community in the spring and early summer of 2022. So I would guess that that would fall under the subject to the event happening again.
Thanks. Would you like to move that? Okay, moved by Director Shannon. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director Johnson. Okay. Any further comments? There we go. Did anyone have their hand up? No? Go
I would
ahead,
just
Mary.
like to confirm participants before we vote. We have listed here City of Port Alberni, areas B, D, E, and F. So just want to confirm that to make sure everyone knows.
I will bring this back to see if Tokot would want to participate. So I don't know right now.
Okay, with that, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Check in on the time here. We have about 10 minutes, only a few left, so let's just keep motoring on. Next item is Banfield Arts Council. And it's just Banfield. So, Bob.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. To Terry, I just want to confirm that there'd be nothing stopping this organization to going to Banfield Community Affairs Society and asking for a grant and aid. Is that correct?
Yes, so Banfield is a little bit different in that Community Affairs Society asks for $10,000 a year that they then do their own granting process out to the organization. So yes, I was actually kind of surprised when I saw this application and thought maybe they'd been asked to come through our board instead of that group. But no, they definitely could go directly to Community Affairs for this request.
Yeah, so that being the case, I think that I would be okay with $500 one time this year, with advice to them that they need to next year to go through community affairs, if that would work with you.
That sounds like a solution. Would you like to move that? Yeah. Okay. And seconded by Dr. McNabb. Any further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you so much. That brings us to the Mid-Island Air Search and Rescue Society. I think this is one of the ones that Dr. Cote intended to fall under that kind of $6,000 blanket. Is that correct? Go ahead, Dr. Cote. And then Dr. Cole.
This is new. So yeah, now there's 4 search and rescues.
Oh, you know what? I highlighted it as one that I saw on the list and I missed the Marine one. So that's probably why I did that. Okay, Dr. Cole. Oh, sorry, go ahead. If I cut you off.
So I would make a recommendation that we support with $6,000.
Okay, Dr. Cole, go ahead.
Well, I was just going to make the recommendation. It's the one I thought was part of the 3 to begin with. So I'm
completely skipped over the Marine one. I highlighted the 3 that I thought Dr. Cote meant. And
me too.
It was not correct. So, okay. Would you like to second that, Dr. Cole? Yeah. Okay. Any further comments? Seeing none. All those in favor? Motion carried. The air search and rescue makes me think of a conversation I had with Director Roberts about drones with thermal imaging. That would be so good for search and rescue. Okay, next up is GIA 22, which is the Family Guidance Association. They're asking for $18,000 and they're asking for it from the city of Beaufort, as well as DENF, which are the rest of the Alberni Valley. You're very emotive, Director Shannon. I can kind of tell when you want to speak beforehand. Go ahead.
I'm trying to read. I've got this in front of me so I can follow along, and then I've got this in front of me to see what page numbers we're at, and I got another iPad so I can see the things, and I've got 4 things going on at once. That's okay.
Yeah,
Sorry.
it's the same thing with me. Yeah.
I guess my question for this one is it's never come to us before, and if they've been in service for 52 years previously, where have they been getting grant money from for operating? And how it came to us, if there was any background that anybody might have or know of, staff, anybody. Thank you.
Yeah, I don't see any background on what they used to, like. It's what
No.
but it doesn't say where they got their money before. So
Yeah, I mean, that's kind of my question, because this is a big ask that we haven't seen before. Because we're being asked for 18.5.
yeah, well, I don't know if they've already received it, but they're looking through to go through gaming and the civil forfeiture as well as the United Way. So I think this is maybe it's just a new effort. Maybe they have someone new coming in going, let's go for everything. Dr. Bodnar, I saw your hand up. Please go ahead.
But just going to say, yeah, they have say the same thing, that they have applied at other places for grants, gaming grants and United Ways as of last year. Didn't say whether they got it or not, though.
No, they may be concurrent in their application.
Yeah, saying that other grants received and or applied for, and it doesn't say one way or the other.
Mm-hmm. Dr. McNabb, please go ahead.
So part of the application for these is supposed to be financial statements. And, I think that we really need to understand what's been funding this in order to put any effort towards it. So we need either them to come forward with that information or so I don't know, will we table it till then?
That might be an idea. Dr. Shannon?
I was just going to make the motion to defer.
Okay. And maybe invite them to a meeting. Dr. Cote?
Thank you. It says that their funding is running out March 31st, and I'm wondering if it has something to do with COVID support, especially for youth. It's a lot about counseling, youth outreach counseling, and understanding right now the impacts of COVID on people in general, families, and listening to what's happening through a cause. There is a huge need for this. So I'd be really would like to see this deferred as well and get more information about what's going on. And honestly, I don't think that we should be providing this service through the regional district. I think that this is a provincial, federal, should be mandated that they look after people. So thanks.
Yeah, this sounds like something we should talk to the Minister of Mental Health. So it's Sheila, I think. So yeah, I'm in agreement. I wouldn't mind having this organization send someone to have a conversation with us in the near future. So maybe if we can track that down, Daniel, that'd be good. With that in mind, Dr. Shannon's moved. I'll say that Dr. Cote seconded because she voiced her support. So all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. All right, that brings us to the Maritime Heritage Society. So for these new ones, do we want to defer them and ask for more information? Because it's kind of the same thing. I don't know. I can see value there, but it's federal stuff. Dr. McNabb, please go ahead.
So this isn't really a new one. They just haven't applied for a while. So they previously have applied in the past.
Okay.
But, I mean, COVID has dramatically impacted this type of service or community community asset because they've got no gate fee coming through. So as much as I don't want to spend $5,000, I would move that we support this grant.
For that amount?
Yes.
With the listed number? Or sorry, the listed participants. Director Cote?
No.
Thank you. I would second this if it was $3,000. Thanks.
It's $3,000. Didn't I say that?
I think you misspoke.
Oh, sorry. It must be my microphone.
Thank you, Director Cote. This is one that I'll bring back to Huu-ay-aht because we're starting to think about that ourselves in regards to our maritime heritage. Bamfield and Huu-ay-aht have some long history in boat building and fishing. So it's something where we're looking to get involved. It might be valuable to explore that, in a wider sense. Okay, that being said, all those in favor of the 3,000? All opposed? Motion carried. So we're a bit slower on Huu-ay-aht's budgeting, but if we participate, we'll let you know for sure. Okay, next up is the Port au Players Dramatic Society. Dr. McNabb.
So I've moved that we support the Port au Players application for $3,000, and I'd like to speak to that afterwards.
Go ahead. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director Bodnar. Okay, go ahead, Director McNabb.
So the impact on this type of facility is just phenomenal. I'm amazed that they've been able to even stand this long, I mean, I don't know what they've got for federal and provincial aid, but I don't think it's a ton. And this type of community program is so important, to just the fiber of the community. So I really think that we should be giving them a hand, and I also think that the province and the federal government should be stepping in there too to make sure that these things last past COVID.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director Cote. Any further comments, Director Shannon?
Thank you. While I support this, I guess my question would be: is we've deferred other grants right now because we want to ask more questions. I realize that this one they've been awarded $1,000 in 2016 and 2017, respectively, each from the regional district. But where we wanted more information, I mean, because I haven't done it the last few years, and maybe that's just me not being here in 2016 and 2017 and knowing the history of it. But thank you.
I don't think that there's any motions on the floor to defer, so let's just move on. Are there any other comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Next up is the Strawberry Isle Marine Research Society. Looks like it's Long Beach and the 2 districts. Dr. Cole, go ahead.
I'll make the motion that Ucluelet, Tofino, and Area C contribute $5,000 to Strawberry Island Marine Research Society.
Thank you. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Director Bodnar. Okay. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Okay, that brings us to kind of the next items here, and that brings us to page 5, GIA 26, City of Port Alberni Economic Development. Go ahead,
Just want to
Terry.
add that sometimes we do have Mr. Deacon, the Economic Development Officer from the city, come, and we definitely can arrange that for during the budget process if the directors would like to defer this till we have an update from him.
Thanks, Director Shannon.
Thank you. I was going to put the motion forward for the amount requested because it's the same as last year.
Do we have a seconder? Not sure. Dr. Cote, second or deferral?
A deferral. I would really like to hear from Mr. Deacon as to what's happened over the past year. We haven't had any presentations, I believe, in 2021 at all. So it would be very interesting to hear what's happened.
Dr. McNabb?
So this is one item that if I was going to increase something, it likely would be this. And given an opportunity to hear, what's in store and how we're going to come out of in a recovery basis, I mean, if this is our tool to do that with, and I think we need an in-depth discussion with Mr. Deacon to see where we're going.
We'll just let the motion go unsupported with a second, and then we can just move to a deferral. I'll say that Dr. McNabb moves that, and Penny, do you want a second? Yeah. Okay. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Thank you. Next up is the Banfield Community Affairs Society. That's that 10 grand we had already spoken to. So Bob, if you just want to go ahead.
Yeah, I'd be happy to move that. They do great work, and it's not a lot of money.
Thanks. Do we have a seconder? Thanks, Dr. McNabb. All those in favor? All opposed? Motion carried. Next up is Sprout Lake. This is for non-city resident rate fees. Penny?
I would just like to move the 24,243 to Area D.
Thanks. Seconded by Dr. Shannon. All those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion carried. Third is GIA 29, Sprout Lake Special Events.
I would like to move that Sprout Lake Special Events receive 10,000.
Okay, seconded by Dr. Shannon. Comments? Dr. McNabb, go ahead.
I'm just wondering how much of that money was actually utilized last year? The 10,000?
Gary?
I'll just need a minute for that one.
Yeah.
You go on, I'll get you.
The reason for that is mine's next, so I just kind of I scaled mine back for budgetary purposes. Yes.
So I'd just like to say that I use it for newsletters and all kinds of different things. Water testing comes out of that, which I haven't been doing this past year because of COVID, but we'll be picking that up again. Different types of things. So probably it doesn't show a lot being used in 2021, but could be in 2022. Thanks.
And through the chair, it was only $211 last year, but of course that then created the surplus, which will support the 10,000 again this year. I think historically it's probably around 5 that is spent in the Sprout Lake area.
Thank you. Any further comments? So I didn't write down whether or not there was a motion. Did you move already, Dr. Cote? Yeah.
I did.
Okay. And the seconder, could we get a seconder? Thank you, Dr. Shannon. Okay, further comments? Seeing none, all those in favor? Motion carried. And that brings us to Beaver Creek.
So I would move that these Beaver Creek's special events grant be $2,000 for 2022.
I think that's a good medium. Okay, seconded by Dr. Shannon. All those in favor? Okay, motion carried. And lastly, GIA 31, Cherry Creek contributions to the city for the elimination of non-city resident rate fees.
Yes, I would like to move that Cherry Creek contribution to the city of Port Alberni to eliminate non-resident rate fees.
To that amount. Great. Do we have a seconder? Thank you, Dr. McNabb. All those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you.
A question?
Go ahead.
Thank you. Beaver Creek's pays in a different way. And I'm wondering, does CPI affect them, or does their amount raise over the years? Thank you.
I can speak to that. So the amount raised has stayed static for probably the last 5 years for all 3 areas. I know that as we have started the aquatics discussion, this is a topic that the Director of Finance from the city would like to have further discussion about during 2021, which didn't happen so this year. So I think we'll probably be discussing these amounts during the year in advance of next year's budget. But the Beaver Creek, Sprout Lake and Cherry Creek rates have not been raised for, I'm going to say 7 years, probably. They've stayed static. So hope that answers your question.
Thank you.
Okay. Yeah, I don't see any more comments. So if we haven't done it already, all those in favor? All opposed? Okay, motion. Okay, now that we've done a list of motions, do we need another motion just to kind of submit them, or are we all done here for this? Yeah.
You're all done as far as I know, unless Wendy has something, but just to confirm, we have 5 that have been deferred. So we'll make sure we bring those back when those places are available. And then I will send out the list to the districts in the city to make sure we're not double dipping. And I'll also forward the list to Director Coots, as I know they're quite often interested in not here today. So those will be the next steps. And then this will come part of your financial plan package next week. And so we can continue to have discussion about even the items that aren't deferred if you would like to.
And don't forget Director Steer as well. All right, I think the next step is just adjournment. Do we have a motion to adjourn? Thank you, Director Cole, seconded by Director Beckett. Okay, all those in favor? Motion carried. Thank you all. Okay, have a good day.
Thank you.